into a new world of gods and monsters.
It's alive!
Here's Johnny.
What's your favorite scary movie?
Oh, I'm telling you, brother, it's a frightful sight to see what goes on Halloween night.
Hey everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Why We Love Horror. Today we got a interesting one. We got Phantasm in the Mortuary collection. Melissa, John, how you both doing?
Doing well. Excited to talk about some what are they? Morticians?
Morticians, yeah. Funeral director, extraordinaire professionals. Yes.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
So I guess let's get right into it, where we're going to start with a plot summary for Phantasm.
Whatever it is, if this one doesn't scare you, you're already dead. Phantasm.
Which I shall take over, I guess. Basically, this movie has Mike, Jody, and Reggie. Mike and Jody are brothers, and they lose a friend named Tommy, who is stabbed by a woman who turns out to be the tall man, who is a mortician at the Morningside Cemetery. And Mike starts trying to track down what's really going on with the tall man, because he's seeing him like pick up heavy shit and do things that a normal human wouldn't do. So he's trying to figure out what the hell is going on with this tall man. There's spheres, there's all kinds of crazy shit that happens, and Reggie is an ice cream truck driver that plays music with Jody, and they get into the shenanigans of Mike, and they all go on this adventure of trying to take on the tall man in a very insane way. It's a non-spoiler as I can get with that. Just in general, what did you guys think of Phantasm?
I'll also say non-spoiler. If you're not familiar with the Phantasm franchise, you want to talk about loyalty. Don Coscarelli gets this group of people, and they're not great actors at all. They're not action stars. They're not comedians. They're barely actors, and he keeps bringing them back. And I don't want to say they kill it, but they commit attempted murder over and over again. They're good enough every single time.
Oh yeah, they do what they need to do for these movies for the most part.
Yeah, no. So this was a first time watch for me, and I absolutely loved it. It definitely gave me. So fun fact. One of my favorite directors, at least from what I've seen so far, because I haven't seen everything, is Dario Argento. And this very much gave me Giallo, or I don't know.
Yeah, Giallo. Yeah, definitely Giallo vibes. Yeah.
Yes, but like American version of it, which I loved, because I love that style of there's kind of like humorous moments, again, kind of bad acting, but it adds to the charm of it all. And I thought it was a really good blend of like sci-fi and horror. And I mean, come on, this guy right here, he's just awesome. He's a great like horror villain, and I'm super excited to watch the rest of the franchise now because I'm invested.
Yeah, I'm doing that too. Like without spoilers, I got to the end of Phantasm. I'm like, oh crap, that's right, this does happen. I need to watch Phantasm 2 just as like a palate cleanser. Like let's go. So I started watching Phantasm 2. I got like 10 minutes left in it, but by next week I'll have watched all 5 of them all over again. So definitely do that. It's worth doing. If you watch the first one, just go for it. You're already going downhill. Don't hit the brakes yet.
Oh yeah, I 100% agree. This franchise goes in insane directions. If this movie is the first one is insane in general, but it does not even come close to what the rest of the franchise brings of the mythology.
Oh yeah,
guys. But yeah, we start off in the Morningside cemetery where Tommy is having sex with a woman, and he ends up being stabbed by her and killed, and it turns out to be the tall man who transforms into the tall man. And Tommy's friends, Jody and Reggie, think that he had committed suicide. They don't really understand what really happened. and why he would have committed suicide. While at the funeral, Mike is witnessing it going on. He sees that the tall man picks up the fucking casket by himself and puts it into the hearse, and then leaves. So Mike tends to leave to get the hell out of there. What did you guys think of the beginning of this movie, from Tommy to seeing the tall man for the first time?
I don't know who's investigating Tommy's murder, but like, come on, like,
Yeah.
like he obviously like maybe ejaculated and like he's just on the ground, stabbed. Yep, he killed himself. Like, I don't know. It's just like
The most effective suicide method is being just stab yourself in the abdomen, and just let nature take its course from there. Yeah, honestly, without spoilers, like, police are non-existent in this town. Go ahead, Melissa. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
I wasn't really gonna say much more. It was just like, again, like some of the acting and like narrative stuff. You know, it's one of those movies where like if you're really like, I guess, looking for a clean narrative, like this is not your movie, which I'm fine with because I enjoyed kind of just like, it's very like schlocky and kind of silly, but it totally works, even though it doesn't fully all make sense.
My whole philosophy about some horror movies, that if a plot hole is big enough, is it really a plot hole? Like if the plot holes are so big, you're just jumping from plot island to plot island. They're not really plot holes. That's done on purpose. Phantasm is a bunch of just on purpose stuff. It's like an anarchist world these people live in, and like they're gonna go for it.
Totally.
Now, before we continue, I want to bring up Angus Scrimm as the tall man. This man just looking at somebody can scare the shit out of people, and that's why Don Coscolari got him, is because he went, I know just by the look of you, you can scare the shit out of children, so I want to see you as a villain of this movie. What did you guys think of the performance of Angus Scrimm throughout this movie?
He's a total
go ahead.
Angus Scrimm, what a find. I mean, I know he's worked on other stuff, but like what a find for Don Coscarelli. Just like his height, like that he really is that tall. Like his line delivery of like, boy, is like man, that's fantastic. And the fact that they got him for so many movies, like it's like a really like a great calling card. I think Angus Scrimm, criminally underutilized in Hollywood. Not much else to say.
Yeah, no, I mean, I was looking at his filmography. I'm like, oh shit, he's in The Chopping Mall. Like he's in a few of these other things that I have seen, and I was just like, gosh, I am underappreciating this guy because he is fantastic, and he definitely makes the movie. Like if he wasn't in this, I don't think it would be as good as it is. But yeah, no, he fully works as this dark, tall, mysterious man that's gonna haunt you.
I 100% agree. So we move forward to Mike deciding to go to the fortune teller that he knows, Mary Ellen and Terry Calabas, who play both the fortune teller and the fortune teller's granddaughter. And as he's there, the grandmother is talking to him about fear and knowing that, trying to overcome his fear. And she shows him this by having a magic box appear. She tells him to put his hand in it, and while he's putting his hand in it, he can't get it out, and it starts hurting him. And they're telling him, just don't fear. And he finally does not fear, and he's able to take his hand out. And he says, that really actually hurt. And they go, it's all in your mind. It wasn't real. What did you guys feel about this fortune teller and the granddaughter that kind of appear throughout the movie, but don't really have like a big plot for it? You just kind of there?
Yeah, to be honest, I kind of forgot about that until you started talking about it. Not gonna lie, but I think it's like that setup of the whole notion of like don't be afraid, don't fear, as it will play later in the movie. But no, I mean I thought it was fine. Again, kind of forgettable, but at least on my first time watch.
Toss up those spoilers. I'm gonna talk a little bit about Phantasm.
Oh yeah. Let's get into the spoilers of this.
Yeah, throw them up.
Yeah, this is like the scene in the fortune tellers thing in the context of Phantasm is really like a throwaway scene. Honestly, Melissa's right. If you've only watched Phantasm, you're going to forget about it. But in the mythology of Phantasm in general, it does set up Mike as this he's clairvoyant, like he has visions, and like he doesn't know. Like in the first movie, he's just a young kid. He has no idea what's going on. Like his parents are dead. He's like his brother's taking care of him. It's obviously a weird, lawless town. You know, there's a lot going on. You know, it's a coming of age. Phantasm's a coming of age movie, isn't it? At its heart.
Yeah,
it's true. And then you learn in later installments that he's like clairvoyant. He can like see the future and all this stuff. And like basically that is what the tall man. I don't think the tall man really recognizes Mike as a threat in the first movie. No. It comes that, but he definitely between the first and second movies it happens. And yeah, so but again, like I said, plot holes get so big they're not really plot holes. This is just one of those plot islands you appreciate later. The fortune teller scene actually could probably be cut from this entire movie, and the movie would be exactly the same. But in the context of the entire franchise, it makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah.
Noted.
Yeah, that is 100% correct. So then we get to Mike's brother Jody is hit on by the lady. They call her the lady in lavender, which is the tall man, and she brings him to the cemetery where they have sex. And as they're having sex, Mike is actually watching this occur in the dark of night, and Mike is accosted by a little hooded figure that looks like a Jawa. Which is 100% a fucking Jawa coming after him, and he ends up running away. And Jody sees it, and he goes after him. Jody doesn't believe anything Mike is saying. He just feels that Mike doesn't want Jody to leave, because during the course of this movie, you find out that Jody's going to be taken off, and he's going to be leaving Mike with his aunt. And Jody feels that Mike doesn't want him to go anywhere, so this is a way for Mike to get Jody to stay. Now, through this, Mike decides to sneak into the mortuary to find out kind of what's going on. And as he does, we get the first scene of the sphere, which is one of the coolest fucking objects in horror movies. It's this fucking sphere that flies around and has a little jagged, what would you call it? Like a jagged... It's
a Swiss Army sphere, obviously.
Yeah, Swiss Army sphere.
As you go through the mythology of the series... such a versatile object.
Oh, yeah. And this thing has a little sharp thing that comes out, and as it's going after Mike ducks, and it takes out this caretaker in the face, where blood starts spewing from the other side of the sphere, and the caretaker gets taken out. And as Mike is getting away, he's being chased by the tall man. He slams the door on the tall man, and the fingers get caught, and you find out the tall man bleeds yellow. He bleeds yellow blood, not regular blood. He bleeds yellow blood. So that right off the bat, you're going, okay, this is an actual human that we're seeing here. And then he escapes. So what did you guys feel about these two scenes in general, from the cemetery back to the mausoleum and everything in between?
A very, if I'm remembering correctly, I think a very comical thing happens when Jody is hooking up with what was her name again? The Lady of Lavender.
Lady in Lavender, yeah.
I'm pretty sure he is running around with her underwear in his mouth or something.
Yes,
I thought
that is true.
Hilarious. I was not expecting that. I was like, okay. And Mike's a little creeper. You know, he's just everywhere snooping on people. But I still enjoyed that. But no, the sphere was awesome. I'm hoping in later installments of this franchise that we get maybe some David Bowie Labyrinth action where he's like doing something with the balls. I don't know. But
not really, but you do get upgrades 100%.
Yeah.
You do get upgrades.
Okay. So I was kind of hoping he's gonna do some kind of cool thing with the ball and then throw it or something. But
I think the weird thing is, and again, definitely not in Phantasm, the beauty of Phantasm is I don't know if Don Coscarelli was planning on making more of these or what, because if he just made one Phantasm and left it as it is, this would be one of the greatest mysteries of horror. He's like, what the? Because the tall man doesn't interact with the spheres. Like they are separate from him. Like they're not even like, he's not making that happen. Like they are
just flying around. Yeah.
So much to unpack just in this small piece of the movie that Mike's outlining. For one, Mike, not our Mike, but that kid is a bastard, man. Like you can't, like he doesn't listen.
Oh yeah.
He doesn't, like you tell him to stay put. He's like, F you, like don't follow me. He follows you. Like If Mike had stayed home, this movie doesn't happen. Just stay home. And he has to follow. He follows his brother everywhere and causes shenanigans. Secondly, again, plot holes. Are they plot holes? No, these are plot islands. The dude who puts Mike in the freaking rear naked choke in the mausoleum, you never see him before.
No.
He just shows up. He's obviously an employee of the cemetery, which you call fucking OSHA, because like the tall man doesn't give a shit about his employees. He just lets this guy get killed. Like obviously he's in on what's going on, and he's not the tall man. The tall man bleeds yellow. This dude bleeds red, like you and me. And it's just like, oh, whatever. Yeah, okay. Thank you for trying to protect us. We're just gonna kill you anyway. You'd think so. You could tell the tall man has no control over these spheres because once that shit starts drilling in the guy's head and vacuuming his brains out, he's like, oh, I guess we need a new gravedigger. I don't know. Whatever. Put an ad in the paper. I'll see you next week, right?
Wait, is this the scene where Mike bites the guy on the arm?
Yeah, the blood comes out of his mouth. It's fantastic.
Okay.
It's great blood effects.
Because I'm just like, holy shit, he's really biting him.
Oh yeah, he sinks his fucking teeth into the man.
Yeah, and another thing too, like, and this is like a point of order. Like, yes, this movie came out in 1979, right?
Yeah.
So it came out between Star Wars and Empire Strikes Back. So where the Jawas, did they rip off Don Coscarelli? Because that's just an add to Coscarelli's legend. Because I believe Empire Strikes Back came out after this.
Yeah, it did.
That is true.
Yeah. So I want to know about that. Because definitely these dudes look concept art for these guys had to exist at first, I believe. And secondly, Don Coscarelli, I was talking to Mike beforehand, like unsung hero of horror. Like there's so many great movies that he's directed or been involved in, and like he's not like you're one of your S tier directors people talk about. But I defy you to like find a movie of his that, sure, some of them are like produced poorly, but they're all entertaining.
Oh yeah, 1000%. And one thing I forgot to bring up is when he cuts off the fingers, Mike is able to grab one of the fingers and take it with him because he thinks this is going to be proof to Jody that, hey, something weird is going on. So when he shows him it, Jody still is kind of hesitant, but he goes, okay, you know what, let's try to do something about it. And they're going to bring it to the cops and see what happens until the finger turns into like this insect or like this fly, whatever.
We're bringing it to the cops. There's no cops in this town.
Yeah.
No cops.
There's no cops. The cops are never called.
It's true. They say they're going to go to the cops, but then all hell breaks loose with the finger, where the thing starts flying around, attacking Jody and Mike, and that's where Reggie comes back into the mix. I forgot an earlier scene where Reggie shows up to Jody and Mike's house, and they just start playing music together, and you just see that there's a
they jam out.
Yeah, they just jam out together. But you see that they're friends and shit like that, and he's kind of like a pseudo uncle to Mike. So Reggie comes back into the mix here, and Reggie doesn't know what the fuck is happening because he just sees the flying object that they try to put down a goddamn drain, and it does not work, and then they have to do it again and just stab at it and turn on the compactor. Through that, Jody this time goes to the cemetery and is attacked by the Jawas, and he is rescued by Mike through Jody's car. And as they are driving away, they are then approached by a car that's driven by, they think, no one at first. And as they're shooting at it, there's no one there until it is ran off the road, and you find out that it was driven by one of the Jawa figures who turn out to be Tommy. And as you're finding out here, it looks like the tall man is shrinking these fuckers after he kills them or finds bodies at the cemetery, shrinks them, and is using them for, as we find out, he's using them as kind of slaves in his little planet to do shit with. So what did you guys feel about this next step in the movie where now it's kind of going into more of an insane direction than it already was?
Oh, I loved it. I mean, I want more. I want to know more about this land that he I don't know, the space. I don't even know how to explain it. I'm excited to watch the rest of this franchise, and I think I'm having a hard time like adding a lot to the conversation today because I do think this movie is very like atmospheric, especially just seeing it one time. I'm just like, ooh, I don't really remember all the details about it, but I still enjoyed my time.
Yeah, you want to talk about George Lucas stealing intellectual property? I'm going to just jump ahead to the end of the movie really quick because when they actually get a glimpse of the home planet, tell me that's Tatooine, right? Here it is, like stolen from Don Coscarelli. But again, I'm going to just keep repeating the same points because if I haven't sold you on this anarchist Pacific Northwest town they live in, Jody and Mike are having a high-speed car chase where Jody is out the sunroof of his Barracuda firing a shotgun at a hearse, and the cops never show up. They never show up. It's a high-speed. There's explosions. Things are running into trees, gunshots, unaccompanied minors. Everything you could want is going on, and the police never show up. Where is this town? Oregon's wild. They said Portland's going to shit. I guarantee Don Coscarelli was a visionary. He knew ahead of time. Oregon was garbage ahead of time. He knew it.
Now, I will say with the low budget nature of this movie, with the stuff that they were able to accomplish, especially during that car chase, and all the effects that are going through the sphere, and then even seeing Tommy, little dwarf Tommy, as he is, like, it's just insane what they've been able to get away with this movie and make it look as good as they fucking do. So after that moment, Reggie and Jody are going to go try to defeat the tall man. And they bring Mike to his friends who own, like, an antique place. And named Sally and Sue. So while he's there, he finds an old photograph where he sees the tall man. And he figures out, okay, now something... Now this is at the point where he just goes, okay, this is it. We have to do something about this. This man is clearly not human as we think he is. So he's telling them, take me to. He wants to go home. He wants to go back to Reggie and Jody to let them know, okay, something's going on. So as they are going home, they see the ice cream truck driven by Reggie that's overturned. Reggie has been attacked, and they are then attacked by the little dwarfs. And one of the funniest moments of this is Mike is in the back seat while Sally and Sue are being attacked, and Mike gets attacked by one of the dwarfs. I don't know how the hell it happens, but this dwarf, while attacking Mike, kind of pushes. They're in like a little small bug, but he's able to lift Mike up enough to push him, to slam him outside the back window. Where he explodes out the back window and then the fucking car just takes off while Mike has just been thrown out of a fucking vehicle by one of the dwarfs and driven away. What did you guys feel about this little attack sequence and then the ice cream truck overturned?
I also want to call out Quentin Tarantino for stealing intellectual property because this Mike is the original stuntman Mike. The falls this kid takes in this movie and in Phantasm 2 are out of this world. Barely a scratch on him. This kid hits asphalt from 5 feet up, hits the ground. He's unconscious, and the car just leaves him for dead. But Mike's not dead. This kid doesn't die. This kid doesn't listen. This kid doesn't stay put. He's a hero.
I don't know how to top that. I mean, I don't know if it's because he does dirt biking, like he's tough. I don't know.
Yeah,
because apparently he just rides his dirt bike all over the graveyard as well, which I find really funny.
Oh yeah, and let's bring up those graveyard sequences of Mike trying to escape on his motorcycle, and Tall Man just fucking looks at him, and the motorcycle stalls and knocks Mike off the fucking thing. And then we have the little dream sequences that we see with Melissa's background of Mike sleeping and the tall man just looking over him. Like, there's a couple of these in the movie where they go fucking bananas, and it's very Argento, like it is very extreme, like in the
let me call out Wes Craven for stealing intellectual property. That scene is clearly ripped off of Phantasm. But go ahead, Melissa.
No, I was literally about to say the same thing. I, as much as I loved this scene, I was like, oh, I've seen this in Nightmare on Elm Street, the original. And I definitely see the influence a few different times in this movie from Nightmare on Elm Street. Like 100%. Even just like the tall man itself, I don't know, just like the menacing, kind of mysterious figure.
See, the scene in Nightmare on Elm Street in the beginning when Freddy's arms are like ridiculously long, that's just him trying to be Angus Scrimm. That's all that is. Angus Scrimm's arms are that long.
Yeah, I mean, again, you could probably see different scenes in Nightmare on Elm Street from this movie. Yeah. Also, or you know what? I lost it. Keep going. Lost my thought.
Yeah, if it comes back, let me know and just go ahead and say it. We go to where now it comes to the point that Jody is going to try to kill the tall man, but before he does, he's going to lock Mike in his room because he doesn't want Mike involved in this. So Mike is able to escape from his bedroom, but when he does, he goes outside and the fucking tall man is staring at him and just grabs him by the neck and just starts fucking dragging him to the goddamn car. And as he's dragging him to the car, he drags him to the hearse, and as they're driving, Mike is able to get out of there, and the hearse ends up hitting a pole and it explodes. And as this is happening, he goes to the mausoleum to look for Jody because Jody is looking there for the tall man. Mike is then chased by the sphere. The sphere comes back, and then out of nowhere, Jody comes with a shotgun and blows the fucking sphere completely away. It explodes.
Excellent accuracy.
Yeah. And then they reunite with Reggie, and that's when they go to the brightly lit room, which is where we find out that there's a bunch of these canisters, and these canisters are filled with the little dwarf figures that we've been seeing throughout the movie. That they also find out that the tall man has taken Mike and Jody's father away from the casket. So presumably he is one of the dwarf figures, or so he was or is one of the dwarf figures at this point. And they're in this brightly lit room where there's these two long silver poles, and Mike comes back to the fortune teller. He gets that thing going back to the fortune teller going, no fear, and he puts his hand in there and he sees that his hand disappears, so he decides to just go fully into it. And we are in the planet of Tatooine, where we see all the dwarf figures fucking bringing shit back and forth. And he's pulled out by Mike and Reggie, and that's where they're finding out that, they're in a new world, be it a new universe or a different planet, what have you, and that the whole time the tall man is using these figures to bring shit to and from Earth. What did you guys feel about this section of the movie where it's coming towards the end, but we're now getting into kind of more on the mythology side of the tall man and what his actual plan is?
Unpopular opinion as just looking at this movie critically, and I think I said this in my Letterboxd review when I rewatched it. It's like, what's the tall man really doing wrong, right? What's he really doing wrong? We take dead bodies, we put them in the ground, right? We're done with them. We have the funeral, we're done with them. He is recycling dead bodies and turning them into a valuable labor force on his planet. And Mike and Jody and Reggie just decide to go fuck this guy's shit up for no good reason. He's an entrepreneur and he's hurting nobody. Right? Am I right? He did kill Tommy. Okay,
I would agree with you.
He's getting a little bit overzealous with recruitment because he ran out of bodies. But maybe he crossed the line. But before that, the tall man did nothing wrong.
I mean, I appreciate the defense of the tall man. He definitely it gave me Willy Wonka vibes a little bit. Hey, here's my little workers and my.
Where did the bullets come from anyway?
I don't know. Again, I haven't seen something about this film that I do like is it really doesn't give you a whole lot, which I know could upset people, but I enjoyed it. It definitely adds to the mystery of it all, because it's we don't get much of this other land or world or whatever it is. It's very it happens very quickly and then it kind of disappears. But I liked it because I want more. But at the same time, even like you said, if this was the only film you ever made in this franchise, I still really, really enjoyed it. And I can't remember if it happens with the first ball or the second ball or both times, but I liked the POV shot of the red and the black. That was really cool.
Predator vision.
Yeah, it reminded me.
I want to talk to the man who made Predator 2. Who's that? Is that McTiernan? That asshole for stealing intellectual property again from Don Coscarelli. All right, everybody's getting called out. You're all ripped off Phantasm, all of you.
Apparently, as we talk it out more and more, I feel like it. No, but it kind of reminded me of the Ingmar Bergman film Cries and Whispers, because there's so much red in that movie and the way that like things dissolve. Just like the way that the red was in the POV shot, it reminded me of that, which totally different movies, but it just something about it. And also just 1970s red is like so specific and I love it. It's just bright. I don't know, it just adds to it all. And I appreciate it.
So as they pull Mike out of this world that he's in, this Mars-type Tatooine world, the power goes out, and it cuts to Jody running after Mike. He's trying to look for him outside the mausoleum, and Reggie is left alone inside the brightly lit room where he decides to put both his hands on the two fucking poles, and he activates something to like this big ass vacuum that starts taking all the fucking canisters and shit and everything, including the mausoleum itself, into the fucking world. Reggie is able to run outside, but as he does, the lady in lavender ends up stabbing him because she's laying on the ground and he goes to help her. She ends up stabbing him and killing him. And then that's another thing of these shots that Don Coscarelli does, especially when it transfers from the woman to the tall man. It does those like 3 zoom in shots where you just see the tall man's face at the end, which is fucking fantastic shot of just seeing the tall man's eyes. So Reggie passes away, and Jody and Mike come across that. They see that Reggie has passed away, and as they are fleeing the mausoleum, they decide to try to find a way to kill the tall man for good. So Jody tells him that there is a what is it called? Mine shaft.
Mine shaft.
Thank you. Yes, a mine shaft. And he goes, "Do not. Let's trap this man. It's 1,000-foot drop, 100-foot drop, or 1,000-foot drop.
1,000 feet.
1,000 feet. Yeah." He says there's 1,000-foot drop, so let's trap him. Let's see if we can get him. So as they devise this plan, Mike is at home, and the tall man again. Like at this point, they should figure out that when you leave Mike alone at home, the tall man is going to fucking find his ass at his house, which always happens. And they set this up to where as tall man is chasing Mike, he chases him throughout. Mike ends up doing this super jump. Tall man doesn't realize it, falls down the mine shaft, and Jody is able to unleash a bunch of these big ass rocks to trap the tall man inside. How did you guys feel about this ending of not only the mausoleum and everything disappearing, but Reggie dying?
I want to call out Dwight H. Little for stealing intellectual property, because the end of Halloween 4 is a ripoff of the end of Phantasm. Mike Myers falling down the mine shaft is bullshit. It was done before. All right? All you guys rip off Phantasm, and you don't even give a shit. You just keep doing it. It's ridiculous. I also want to call out Scott Derrickson, because that's the same shit that happens at the end of the Black Phone. It's just a smaller pit.
I do like how those rocks like perfectly land where they need to. That had me laughing. I was like, "Are you serious right now?" Yeah. Again, I love the chaos kind of towards the end here, but it's also like, I don't know, planned chaos at the same time. It feels like with those rocks just landing perfectly.
I think you can kind of tell like they were running out of money, because like a lot of the things are just like Reggie doesn't escape. He just like shows up and tells you he escaped. He's like, "Oh yeah, I just got up, and then the girls were there too, and I opened the door and they ran away." It's like, where are they? Like they couldn't even afford to have the girls that are in one scene and 2 scenes where you see them running away, or you see Reggie escape. It's like, no, we're just going to tell you what happened, and you're going to go for it. But yeah, it's just, and then of course the whole like, and then the house blows up. Obviously, you have to the part the whole house blows up from the vortex, whatever. Yeah. And then Jody's got this plan, like, oh yeah, all of a sudden there's a mine shaft. Can you and the funny thing is, like, dude, Mike runs, man. He runs from his house, and it's like an unbroken thing, and all of a sudden he's just at the mine shaft.
Yeah, he's a fucking track star,
and he does the Konami track and field jump over the mine shaft, and the tall man doesn't bite; he just bites it. You know, that's that.
I will say I'm looking at the budget. It was 300,000, and it made 22 million at the box office.
Hell yeah,
So
kid.
it was a success. I'm honestly a little shocked, just because it is a little lower budget, and I think some of the films back then either were hits or they weren't. So I'm glad to see that.
Look at what he did with $300,000, and look how no trust was ever put in him, like ever again. Like he's made a few movies here and there, right?
Yeah.
But like he should have been given. He should have had a Carpenter trajectory. He should have had that. He didn't.
Yeah.
So throughout this movie, we've seen some insane, crazy shit that's just gotten more crazy as the movie progresses. We've seen the sphere. We've seen little dwarfs that were fucking miniaturized by the tall man. We've seen all kinds of crazy shit. But we're nowhere near the crazy shit. Because Mike wakes up after the rocks appear. Mike wakes up and he's worried about the tall man. Reggie is alive. And they are now downstairs, and Reggie is telling Mike, apparently Mike has told this whole story to Reggie at this point, and Reggie just goes, "It's a dream, man. Jody died in a car accident." You're going, what the fuck is happening at this point? Like, it's now turned insane where Jody apparently died in a car wreck, and Reggie wants to take Mike on like a road trip. So he goes, just go upstairs and pack. We'll go on this road trip. So as Mike goes upstairs, he closes his closet, and the tall man is staring at him and screams out his fucking one line of all one lines, "Boy." And then these fucking hands of like an animal or something come out from the fucking closet glass mirror, pull Mike in, pull him through.
I want to talk to Wes Craven one more time because that same bullshit happens at the end of Nightmare on Elm Street. Don't think we don't fucking see you, Wes. I know you did.
And the movie just fucking ends. So what did you guys feel about this ending? That I know, John, you had to get the palate cleanser by watching.
I was like,
Phantasm 2.
It had been such a long time since I watched the franchise. I was like, how did they painted themselves into such a corner? How did they make 4 more movies after that? And I was like, oh, okay, cool. We'll talk about Phantasm 2 another time. But they get out of it. Believe me, they do it. And I think if you watch Phantasm 2, they must have filmed those scenes then.
Oh yeah.
Which doesn't make sense why they didn't just keep it in the movie, but I'm not going to spoil anything. We're only spoiling Phantasm 1. Phantasm 2, like and subscribe to find out about Phantasm 2.
There you go. No, it honestly kind of reminded me of last week. I was like, oh shoot, we're going the English route, like a movie within a movie or a dream within a dream. Like, where are we going? But I actually really enjoyed it. I was like, okay. But again, I think the downfall of this movie, just in general, is Mike. I don't like him.
He doesn't listen.
He doesn't listen. All the reasons John's listed out, but like, if his brother really died, like, he doesn't seem that sad about it. And also, this poor kid, he's lost both of his parents and now his brother. Like, what's going on? Like, it's not good.
It's that town, man. That's a depressed town. You might have read what's the Grapes of Wrath? No, this is sadder than that shit. This is sadder than the Grapes of Wrath, this kid's life.
Now, before we move on to the ratings, is there anything you guys would like to bring up that we haven't actually talked about?
Yes. The music was fucking awesome.
Oh yeah.
And it really, like, that like made the movie as well. Like, again, I don't think if Angus Scrim was not in this and the music, I don't think it would nearly be as good. Those two things very much elevate this movie for me. And then there was one other thing. We didn't talk about the Beatles or like or the fly thing or whatever that was. And I love the terrible acting of like
holding it in the shirt that he had.
Oh, good. They turn into like an improv troupe, like right in the middle of the movie.
Oh, I love that so much. So those are the things I wanted to bring up.
Also, like, the amount of just like unsecured handguns in the house with a child in the house is phenomenal. And the fact that like so Jody locks him in his bedroom by jamming the door shut with a screwdriver. How does Mike get out of the bedroom? Great question, John. I'll answer that for you. He MacGyvers. He shoves a thumbtack into the firing pin of a shotgun shell, duct tapes it to a hammer and blasts his way out of the room. That is like next. I want to also call out Richard Dean Anderson, MacGyver. You ripped off Phantasm. I'm sorry, because this kid was you.
I will. One scene that we didn't actually touch on that I wanted to bring up because it has one of the funniest lines in this movie because it's just so out of nowhere is when Mike is working on the car in the garage and the little door figures are running around like outside of the car. Yeah, and then he ends up hitting the hammer and it hits Jody's foot. And when he takes Jody out, he tells him, they were here. And he goes, are you sure it wasn't the retarded kid down the street? And I went, what the fuck?
And the kid's name is Timmy. So I'm going to call out Trey Parker and Matt Stone for ripping off Phantasm and stealing intellectual property.
It's just so fucking random.
Yeah, it was 1978, man. 1979. Well, 1978 film, 1979 release. It's the Wild West. There's no cops. You're allowed to use the R word in 1978 Oregon. You're allowed to use it.
Well, yeah, let's get to the ratings of this. Let's start with Melissa. Melissa, what did you rate this 0 out of 5 VHS tapes?
I gave this 4 VHS tapes. I could see this going up on rewatches, especially considering all the things that other movies have stolen from this movie. Just talking it out tonight. No, I think it's a really good blend again of like sci-fi horror, and I think the tall man is just excellent as a antagonist, or maybe in John's eyes, a protagonist.
He's the victim.
John, how about you?
I'm not like conflicted on Phantasm, but I see Phantasm for like what it is. Like this is like a good movie disguised as a horrible movie, but it winds up being a good movie. So I'm like 3.5 on Phantasm. Like I like it, but it's like it's like I wouldn't want to be caught watching it by people that respect me. You know, that's like how I feel. I would immediately shut it off if people who didn't know me walked into a room. I was not watching Phantasm. No, that movie sucks. But in reality, I'll tell you here, but I will deny saying it. It's a 3.5 star movie.
How could I? Yeah, after seeing this as a small child and watching this franchise as I've been growing up, I absolutely love this movie. It's insane in the best way. It's fucking bananas, and it's everything that I love about a movie. It's a great fucking movie to me. It's five VHS tapes for me. I absolutely love this movie and this franchise. And as an added bonus, because Kelly's significant other, Aled, watches every episode of ours, he was so irritated that we did not pair this with Phantasm 2 or one of the Phantasm sequels in general, that I'm going to tell him right here and now that we will eventually do a retrospective on all these Phantasm movies. You will get the rest of these sequels in here eventually. We will do that for you. So now let's move on to our next one. We watched the Mortuary collection.
Here's what we gonna do. I promise you dinner on me.
There's no use running. Your story is just beginning.
John, would you like to do the plot summary for the Mortuary collection?
Sure. The Mortuary collection, as you can tell by the title, is a collection of stories that are told from inside of a mortuary. I will tell you more than that, though. Clancy Brown, American Treasure Clancy Brown, is the mortician, and a girl. Well, there's a funeral for a child, a wake for a child, and a girl shows up who is very interested in getting into the casket of the child for whatever reason. It's revealed later in the movie, and as she also tells him she's looking for a job, and as he basically is giving her on-the-job training, we hear 4 different tales of horror, and that is the Mortuary collection.
I like it. Melissa, what did you feel about the Mortuary collection overall?
I mean, Clancy Brown, he fucking nailed this. Like, I love his voice. I love the way that he looks. Like, I was all in from that perspective. Now, I think overall, I mean, I think the production value of this movie is really good. Like, I thought the lighting, the coloring, like set design, all that kind of stuff, like technical was really good. I think ultimately for me, I struggle with anthology movies just in general. Like it's just I haven't had one that I've watched that I'm just like yes to every single segment. But this one is still pretty strong. It's just nothing like wowed me at the end of the day. But I did really enjoy this. I thought it was a really fun time and really well like produced and like yeah, I thought it was good.
John, how about you?
Everybody knows I'm an anthology snob. If you know me, I am a snob. Basically, I'm always happy when an anthology movie is like one director, which is very rare. It's very rare that you see like one director doing multiple segments. So that was interesting to me because usually those are like it's a sign of like a stronger anthology movie. I think the movie in general, just without spoiling my total opinion on it, like it starts off weak and gets stronger as it goes along. And then and like they probably should have spread out the good stuff more in the movie because you have to sit through some stuff that's like, is this even horror to get to the good stuff in the movie?
Yeah, looking at it, some of the stories, like most anthologies, some of the stories are stronger than the others, and then there are very weak ones in this. I think the easiest approach to this is to put the spoiler warning up here first. And John, you already brought up the whole framing of this movie, which is a girl shows up to get a job at a funeral home with Clancy Brown, and Clancy Brown is telling her these stories. So let's start off with this, I guess, segments. Let's start off with segment one, story one, where it's in the 1950s. A young woman, Emma, is going to the restroom to look at wallets of people that she's pickpocketed throughout the night. And as she does, she gets like interested in this cabinet, the medicine cabinet. And as she opens it, a monster appears and fucking just kills her and drags her ass through the cabinet and shuts.
The whole story. Mike,
Yeah,
you just said
the whole fucking story right there.
Done. Next story.
Yeah. But listen, John, what did you think of the segment one of this very quick story? Because this story does not last long.
Yeah, obviously I really didn't know anything going into this movie. I was like, oh, is it going to be like really quick segments, like a lot of quick segments? But it's really not. This is just the one that's by far the shortest. There's definitely like a theme of like kind of throughout all these stories that like these people are doing something kind of shameful, and then they get karma. Karma gets them, and so it's kind of. I think that was like what I just felt like it was very one note for all of them in regards to like they did something bad, now something bad is gonna happen to you. Like I just felt like that was like all the stories, and I kind of wish it was like a little bit more of just a mixture of different types of horror and different story structures. But I thought it was fine. I do think overall through all the different segments too, I found it confusing to what the time period was. This one was the most, I think, like this was in the 1950, type of era. But all the other ones, I was really confused what era it was actually.
They all like jump forward by 10 years, and then it's like 50s, 60s, 70s, present day. All of a sudden, that's exactly.
Okay.
I don't know why they did that, but that's what they did. Yeah, this segment, it's kind of like it harkens back to the whole like very vanilla Tales from the Crypt. Like, this is a bad guy. How's this bad guy gonna die? I'll tell you in a half hour. That's basically like how it is. So like, yeah, been here, done that. I do think the creature in this it was pretty cool. Like, and the fact that like, it's like, it's like she's walking across the room. She's gonna get away. No, you're not gonna get away. And it's like, she gets in the restroom and you just think it's a party. You think she's just in the restroom, just taking a break, powdering her nose. Turns out, she's pickpocketed the whole party. And she's just like in both. And then, but she's a thief and there's a lock on that medicine cabinet. I don't know what's in there. I don't know what kind of drugs they had in the 50s, maybe some Valium or something she's trying to get. And that's a bad idea. So, basically, if you have a bad idea in the Mortuary collection, you're going to die. That's what the whole movie's about.
Yep.
Yeah, I'll agree with this that the creature in general looks fucking awesome. Like, I think they did well with the creature. I think the creature looks awesome. And I think that's a highlight of this segment, out of this very quick segment, which then we move on to segment two, which is Unprotected, which is about a frat guy named Jake who is passing out condoms, basically going, "Hey, we like safe sex. Come to our parties." Just trying to lure women to come to his party so they could have unprotected sex with fucking people. And he lures this woman named Sandra to the party where he proceeds to pretend that he's going to use a condom, doesn't, has sex with her, and he ends up developing a type of rash that he goes to the doctor, and the doctor basically tells him, "Hey, you're pregnant." And he goes, "What the fuck?" And
Well, he doesn't tell him that.
Yeah,
he
no, he finds it on
doesn't
the
tell him
yeah.
that. He opens his own file.
Yeah, he opens because the doctor freaks out and he just kind of brushes it off. He thinks he's looking at the wrong file, and Jake looks at the file and says that he's pregnant. So Jake decides to try to call Sandra. Sandra gave him he's trying to get the right number because he kind of wiped it off. He finally gets her and he goes, "Hey, you want to just hang out and stuff like that?" He ends up before he goes to her house, he ends up downstairs at his frat party where his frat members give him a sign of like accolades by lifting him up because he's had sex with so many women that
67 women.
67. He gets like a banner that he gets to put up, and he ends up splooges all over.
There's a lot of like thick liquid in the Mortuary collection.
Yeah,
thick liquid.
Yeah. Ugh.
So what did you guys feel about basically from the sex to up till the splooging of this movie?
Just the guys, listen, just the dangers of being a fake male feminist. You better not be doing that because this Mortuary collection is telling you that won't be tolerated. Don't be a fake male feminist.
I mean, I think anyone out there that's a Euphoria watcher very much appreciates this segment. I know I did because Jacob Elordi, the guy that's Jake, he is the biggest asshole on Euphoria. So like, I loved this segment for that reason because it just was so satisfying to see. I know we haven't gotten there yet, but the ending of this segment. But yeah, this one was pretty gross. Yeah, when he kind of, as you called it, splooging, was
his water broke, sort of.
It's kind of like his water's breaking, but it's not really water that's coming out of him.
And naturally, I was eating dinner during this segment.
Oh.
And I was like, well, I'm gonna stop now.
I think like the biggest like horror as a guy is when he's in labor and the mom's like, he's like, well, how does this come at him? He's like, what's gonna come out the way it went in? And I was like, oh, come on. And like, I was like, I'm done.
Which, yes, gets us to that moment, him going to the house, and the mom and dad are trying to get the daughter to come downstairs, but they set him up to have the birth. And yeah, like John said, come out the way it did, and it just shows a quick shot of his dick before it explodes everywhere. And he's lying there dead as they take the baby out. And as she brings the baby upstairs to the nursery, you find out that the daughter's been doing this way more than once. There's a shitload of babies in there, and they're all creatures because of the fucking hand that pops out.
Earlier in the movie, you see there's a whole wall of like missing persons, and you got to imagine that it's those dudes' babies. Those are the mommies. Those are the missing mommies. Hey, happy Mother's Day, guys.
So what did you guys feel about the reveal of him having an actual monster in his belly and how it comes out and how this segment ends?
No comment.
It was pretty shocking that we got a penis explosion. I was not expecting that at all. I don't really know what I was expecting because we obviously knew he was pregnant at this point. And yeah, how was it going to come out? But no, the casting I think was very clever because it was very satisfying for me just from that perspective. But no, it was pretty gnarly. It just, I don't know, just the concept of like having that power to like impregnate men that are disgusting kind of seems awesome, but obviously terrible too. Like so it was interesting. I was very conflicted with my feelings.
Yeah, this was definitely one of the more entertaining segments to me. I quite enjoyed the penis explosion and all the shit that surrounded that because that was definitely up there was what I was not expecting for sure. So then we move on till the third segment of Till Death, which takes place in the 70s. And this guy named Owens, who is like depressed, and he's taking care of his catatonic wife, who he when he's talking to the doctor is suggesting that she accidentally overdoses on painkillers to kind of relieve him of his depression and everything.
70s were wild, man. No medical ethics, no police.
Yeah, at all. But then as he's trying to give it to her, she's actually stopping him from doing it, and she is choking on the food that the pills were hidden on that he tried to give it to him. And then she's kind of forcing him to kind of help her out by throwing him up, by grabbing his arm and stuff like that. And then as she collapses, she fucking impales her head on the damn statue and dies. So what did you guys feel about this first section of Till Death?
Another great thick liquid scene with the soup.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a real shame that he gave her that. There's a lot of rabbits. She loves rabbits. Obviously, she collected rabbits when she was better. And then he puts the little spiky rabbit right underneath her head and just doesn't balance her correctly. And that's all she wrote.
Yeah, no, this segment I enjoyed, but it's also like, it's a very interesting concept of like, yeah, obviously you marry, and the whole thing is like, when you marry somebody, death do us part, through sickness and health and all that kind of stuff. And it's like implied that she like becomes this way like at the altar, or at least that's how I don't know, it happened like right away, that she's kind of in this catatonic state. And it's just interesting to think about like having a loved one like not being like having that quality of life. And I think it's something that a lot of people deal with, like what is the best decision of like, do you just keep taking care of them even though the quality of life is low, or do you kind of try to figure out something to like let them go peacefully so that they can move on with their life, like both people. So I don't know, it's an interesting kind of thing to think about, I think.
This doctor, though, it's the same doctor from the second segment.
Yes.
And he's not a great doctor.
No.
Because then the suggested overdose backfires, right? And then he calls the doctor for advice, and the doctor's like, just fucking dispose of the body. Just cut that shit up.
He does not give a fuck at all. He tells him to dispose of the body, which he puts in a trunk and brings it. And as he's dismembering the corpse, he starts having the hallucinations of her being alive. And as he puts it all in the trunk and puts it into the elevator gets stuck, and blood starts leaking from the trunk. All the elevator starts going up and down. And that's when Carol's body rises from the fucking trunk and kisses Wendell. And it cuts to the police arriving, and Wendell is on the floor of the elevator repeating the vows that he gave at his wedding. And the corpse is still in the body, so he's definitely freaked out. He definitely freaked out into catatonic state. So what did you guys feel about the ending of this segment?
It's clean. It's a clean ending.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, I mean, it's very upsetting, like just the concept of like cutting up your wife or significant other to like dispose of them because your plan fucked up. Just the emotions of it. Like, I don't know. I was feeling for this guy. Like, I think he was trying to do the quote unquote right thing, maybe in his mind, and then it just backfires. Like, and then I'm sure there's a lot of emotion behind it. Like, this is the woman he loves, and now he has to like fucking get rid of her body because
he goes on a real soft quiet trajectory in his apartment. It's like, what? How do we go? Oh, I gotta cut her up now.
Yeah. So no, but the ending was cut. Yeah, like I think that's a good way to put it. Clean. Like it's just kind of like, all right.
Yeah,
it's clean, it's straightforward, and I do love the hallucinations in this part because I do love me some hallucinations in movies, and I think they do pretty well with this. And as we're talking about straightforwardness, we come to back to Sam and Clancy Brown, and Sam is basically chastising him, just going that these stories are all this, like, we know what's going to happen in these stories. That's all you're telling me. So he goes, okay, let me take you down to the fucking basement of this mortuary with a childlike coffin so we can dispose of cremate the child in the coffin. And that's when Sam stops him and goes, I was never here for the job. I'm here for the actual child. And that's when we get into the final segment of the babysitter murders, where it starts off where Sam is babysitting a child as she's watching a horror movie, as she's cooking dinner. She finds out that a patient has been escaping from an asylum. And that's when she finds a strange man in her house with a wound on his head. And she doesn't really know what the hell is going on. And then her phone rings. And that's when they get the answering machine about the escaped killer. So then she's going, oh shit, here we go. So her and the strange man start to fight. What did you guys feel about this coming segment and knowing that now Sam is part of the actual story?
There's no way to talk about it without absolutely spoiling the crap out of this segment. I feel like what's the word I'm looking for? It's like they foreshadowed it too hard. Like you knew, so like, she craps on all of Montgomery's stories, right? Like these are unpredictable stories. Let me tell you a story that's unpredictable. Well, from the beginning that it's got to be the opposite of what's really happening. You have to know.
Yeah.
So you go into it thinking like, great. We know she's something's up with her. But go ahead, Melissa. You can. I'll give you the honor of telling people what really happens.
No, I mean, you're fine. But yeah, like, spoilers on this one. We find out that she's actually like the lunatic that's like, unleashed from the asylum. Because kind of throughout the whole movie, we see, I think there's like a newspaper at the very beginning that's like something about like a riot at an asylum, and somebody like, I don't know, getting out. But yeah, we find out that it's her. I thought it was interesting, but yeah, I don't know, this movie, like, I kind of felt like, oh, that's cute. Like, I don't know, like, I just felt like the writing, like, wasn't as strong as I was hoping. And I don't know, it was fine, but I was kind of annoyed.
A male babysitter. Who has a male babysitter? What a bunch of bullshit. I don't buy that.
Hey. You never know.
I will say on rewatch of this, especially this segment, it did definitely go down for me because the reveal isn't as strong as I would have hoped to be, and rewatching it, it definitely suffers from that. Haven't heard.
I thought it was just straight up telegraphed going in.
Yeah.
Like I was like, what's really going on here? Like, and just like, when she's cooking and the fact and just how like easily she shoves his hand in the meat grinder. And like, I was like, all right, this is a little heavy. It's laying on pretty thick, but it is what it is.
So as we cut back to the actual mausoleum and Clancy Brown, she takes a knife that she had in the kid, and she tries to stab Clancy Brown, and that's when he is bleeding embalming fluid, and you find out that he is not really he's not really a fucking man, and he tells her basically that you are basically becoming me. You are going to take over my job. And that's when she tries to escape multiple times, and it keeps sending her back. And that's when he is basically telling her, you are now me. I'm going away, and it's your turn to take over and be me throughout this. And as he is going outside, he crumbles into fucking dust in the daylight. Fucking is like Clancy Brown in general. This movie definitely holds this movie completely, and he does such a great job with it. He is fantastic in it. I love Clancy Brown to death, and he does such an amazing job in this movie. What did you guys feel about the true ending to this movie and how she is now being taken over as him, including her talking to a child towards the end of this movie?
I thought it was kind of lame, but it's fine. I like how she's like, is it like the Tooth Fairy killer or something? Which
the Tooth Fairy killer. Yeah,
I didn't really get that. Like, why? Like, just Did she do something with teeth that I missed? I don't know.
No, she pulls a tooth out of every kid she kills.
Yeah.
That's why she pulls a tooth out of Logan's mouth.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
That's why
sorry,
she
I
was
guess
there.
I missed that.
Blink and you'll miss it.
Well, I guess
at the end of the movie when the reanimated, poorly CGI animated kids, the kid puts his tooth back in his mouth.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, no, I guess I blinked. Sorry. No, sorry, I feel like I'm being harsh on this loss, but I will say some of the gore and the fighting sequences were fun in the babysitter murder sequence. But I just think overall, just the delivery of everything, the reveal and the ending, I was just like, all right, well, that was fun, I guess, but kind of lame for the ending. That's how I felt, at least.
Yeah, I think other than Clancy Brown going out in dust, I think the ending kind of suffered through what the last segment suffered through. I think the leading segments are pretty well done for what they are, but the ending kind of falters. Let's. Do you guys want to bring up anything that we haven't talked about for Mortuary Collection?
I'm good.
And let's get right into the ratings. I guess I will start with this one. Let me take away the spoilers there. For this, I did have this higher when I watched it for the first time. Rewatching it, it definitely did go down for me. I still enjoyed my time with it. I still enjoy the shit out of Clancy Brown, and I do love the unprotected sex segment so fucking much because it's so wild that I went 4 with it. 4 VHS tapes. I enjoyed my time. I'll maybe give this another rewatch because the first time I saw it was when it first came out. So maybe in a couple of years I'll give it another rewatch and we'll see how it goes from there. But overall, I enjoyed my time with it. John, how about you?
Like I said at the top, I'm a bit of an anthology snob.
Yes.
Does this compare to VHS? And no, it doesn't. This is minor league ball compared to those movies. Is it horrible? It's not bad. This isn't a bad movie. I don't hate any of the segments. I don't think they're badly done. I think Clancy Brown is head and shoulders on top of head and shoulders on top of head and shoulders. The best thing about this movie, carries the entire thing on his back. 2.5. Can't say I like it, but I don't hate it. Nothing. Yeah. Again, don't like or hate it. Like I said, it feels like the stepson of Tales from the Crypt, which should not be duplicated. Tales from the Crypt is Tales from the Crypt. So it's a lot of derivative tone, and that's just how I feel about it.
And Melissa, how about you?
Yeah, I don't know, talking it out more and thinking about it, I'm like, maybe I should go lower. But no, I'll just go with what I went with, though, when I was watching it. I went 3.5. I think it's, again, there's really strong production value in this, and I think it was, well done kind of from that standpoint. But, yeah, it's kind of, nothing too new or unique. It's kind of things you might have seen before for the most part. But I think it's enjoyable. I think Clancy Brown definitely elevates it. And I will say, I watch horror movies year round, but this definitely gave me fall vibes for sure. So I can see this definitely I feel goes maybe better watching it around September, October time frame. Just I don't know. There's certain movies out there that have that effect, and this one.
The kid's wearing a jacket. Yeah, that kid's wearing a jacket.
So, no, I enjoyed my time though.
Okay, I like that. So let's talk about next week. So next week, this is going to be another week where there's no big horror releases coming out. So who would like to reveal the 2 movies we'll be talking about next week?
Sure. So next week it's going to be a wild ride. Literally. We're going to watch and review Titan. Is that how you say it? I always feel like I'm saying it wrong.
I always say Titan because I feel
Titan.
Titan. Yeah, Titan.
Okay, Titan. Directed by Julia Ducournau. I believe that's her name. She's awesome. And then we are also going to be reviewing and watching Inside from 2007. So both French horror movies that have some pregnancy action going on.
Yeah, we
for Mother's Day.
This is dropping. This is dropping on Thursday. You're watching this on Thursday, hopefully. And between now and next Thursday, Mother's Day is happening. So, everybody, celebrate Mother's Day. And then we're going to celebrate Mother's Day the only way we know how, with some really creepy pregnant women and stuff happening to pregnant women and around pregnant women. That's how we're going to do it.
Yes.
I like it, and I'm very excited for next week. These movies are insane in the best ways. Thank you all for watching another episode. Get in the comments. Let us know what you thought of Phantasm Mortuary Collection, especially Phantasm. Let us know what you thought of that, and if you've seen the sequels. If you want us to do it, we are definitely going to be doing a retrospective eventually on that. So if you really want it, you put it down in the comments. You let us know. Like, subscribe, all that good shit. Watch the rest of the video store content that's coming out. We got Late Shift this Friday. We got TLU approaching soon. Boat just did his newest Movies on My Life with Maxwell, so go check that out because that was an entertaining episode for sure. Other than that, I think we will get out of here. So thank you again for watching, and we will see you next week for Why We Love Horror.
Why, she wouldn't even harm a fly. Hurry back. Be sure to bring your death certificate.